Much for joining today. Okay, so first of all, let's just go through some introductions. So I'm Sam Connor, sales manager here at Intreface, and we are Bitrix24 Gold partners based in the UK. We're in the US and Hong Kong. And we offer a full range of services to assist you with Bitrix24. So starting off with pre-sales support, so we can help you to evaluate Bitrix, see if it's a good fit for what you're trying to achieve. And then if it's a good fit, we can implement the system for you. So we can set it up and design it exactly how you need it to work for your business. And if you're interested in the self-hosted version, we can provide you with our hosting service. And we can also provide training and ongoing support to really help you maximize the value that you get from the Bitrix24 system. Okay, so if you're joining today to maybe understand a bit more overall about what Bitrix24 is, let's just discuss a little bit here about the key features of Bitrix24. Okay, so Bitrix is a collaboration suite of well in excess of 40 modules that you can use to help you to manage your business. And there are over 15 million businesses now that use Bitrix for their processes and requirements. And it's available in two different editions. So we have the Bitrix Cloud and we have the Bitrix24 self-hosted solution. And in terms of pricing, so prices, they start from $49 per month. That's on a basic cloud license. And on the on-premise, the self-hosted version, that starts at the Business 50 version, priced at $3,590 for the first 12 months. And then in year two and ongoing annually, you'll pay a 50% renewal fee to continue to access the system. Okay, so now let's take a look at and deep dive into HR, because today's webinar is the HR Toolkit webinar. So we'll just discuss first of all why you could and you should use Bitrix for your HR requirements. So Bitrix has lots of tools that you can use for finding employees, managing work time and personal areas, maybe for contracts or appraisal documents. So everything can be centralized inside the system. We have self-service forms for managing requests such as absence requests, expenses, or purchase authorizations. But you could also create custom processes, and we'll take a look at this, for example, maybe an onboarding workflow for managing new starters. So we'll take a look today at all of these features. And if you have any questions, you can put them into our chat here on YouTube. We are live today, so we can answer any of your questions. And I'm just going to put into there as well our email address, which is sales@intreface.com. So if you have any questions after this session, you can drop an email to us and we'll be happy to help. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go into the Bitrix system and take a look at the core fundamental features of the HR areas of Bitrix. So we'll take a look at the profile and the company structure. Then we'll have a look at the time management tools that we have available for tracking overall work time, but also lower level tasks that you may be working on day to day. We'll then take a look at the personal drive and calendar areas, then look at engagement, how we can improve engagement through Bitrix, and then we'll take a look at some of the self-service forms and processes. Okay, so let's now come across to our Bitrix system. And as we go through the session today, if there are any features where you need to be on a specific tier of Bitrix, I'll make you aware so you have that clear understanding as to what type of Bitrix you would need if you can't see this feature in your Bitrix right now. Okay. And just to explain what we're seeing here, so I'm in an on-premise version of Bitrix here. I have also got a cloud version open, so we'll be switching between the two. And we're in the browser here of Bitrix, but if you are completely new to Bitrix and testing it, I'll just explain there is also a a desktop version of Bitrix, and we have a mobile app as well. So you could be updating records, maybe communicating with your colleagues on the mobile app, and it's going to sync into the browser and desktop versions. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at the user's profile page. So this is really useful and it is important because within here, there is a lot of information for the user on their profile. So here we can see the user's profile of Sam Smith. Now, that picture there, that could be a real picture of the person, and you can, in the profile, the user themselves can add information. So we can see some details here about the user. And it is possible to create custom fields. So if there's maybe additional information that you want to store, it's very easy to add that content into your profile. We have, for the on-premise version of Bitrix, additional features you can incorporate, such as leave entitlements. So later on in the webinar, we'll be taking a look at how you can request and have authorization for holiday leave. We'll see how we add additional functionality to add entitlement to that process. And further down here, there's additional information around subordinates, appreciations, which we'll take a look at later on when we look at employee engagement. So there's quite a lot of information inside the user's profile. And what's really nice in a profile here is the shortcuts for different areas of the Bitrix system. So for example, I can click into tasks. I can see all of the tasks that I am working on, and then I can click straight into the task page from there. So it's very easy to navigate to different areas of the system. If I wanted to open up my drive area where I've got my folders and files, easy to drill into there as well. So it's a really nice way, rather than having to move across the Bitrix system, you could go directly from your profile into those different areas. Okay, so that's an individual user's profile. But now let's take a look at really how we can then manage the entire business within Bitrix. And that's by setting up the company structure here. So the company structure is where we can build out essentially the whole department structure of the company. So in this example here, we can see we have a head office, and then we've got categories of different regional departments, and then different support and after sales departments, all incorporated into this company structure. If I want to add maybe another department, it's very simple. So I can click on the department tab there. I can then give this department a title. So let's call this one marketing department. And then from there, I can add the users who are associated to this department structure. So I can add supervisors, deputy supervisors, and then any additional employees who are associated to that department. And that is how easy it is to create additional departments within the structure. And it's very important because this isn't just a visual aid, even though it is very nice to be able to view that entire structure of the company. Very useful for new employees who really want to familiarize themselves with the entire organization. This gives them a great view of that. So they can see departments, who's responsible for each area. So it makes it improvement for people being able to communicate with their colleagues through here. And we can also add sub-departments. So if you want to kind of create that lower level structure, you have the capability to do that. And also within the actual system here, it's not just a UI interface. What we can then also do within here is this can be used as a permission structure in different modules such as the CRM. So we might just say people in the US department can access the leads of the USA, for example, or maybe we want to send a communication or a message to a specific department. We don't want other departments to have visibility. So it allows you to target communications to specific departments, essentially audiences. So you have the control here in lots of different areas of Bitrix by using the company structure. So it's very important to get this set up correctly and accurately for your needs. And if it's something you're unsure of, or maybe you've set it up already, but you're not confident that the company structure is accurate, please do just get in touch. We can take a look and see where any improvements could be made. If you just contact sales@intreface.com, the address is in the YouTube chat channel, and then we can set up a call to take a look and review your company structure in more detail. And then alongside the company structure, we have the essentially employee database here, where we can see all of the details of all the employees. And I'm an administrator on this account, so I have the flexibility here to control what fields of information we want to pull in from profile pages. So I can keep it really simplified, or maybe I want to add additional information. So it's very flexible for what the display will show here. And you've got a filtering system as well. So it's very easy to drill down to find specific employees. And then from there, I could set up chats or communications with my colleagues. So if I wanted to maybe speak with Mark, I can speak to him through here. So I can set up instant chats, but it's also possible to do video calling, voice calling as well. So there's lots of really nice processes that we can set up inside our Bitrix system to collaborate with our colleagues. You don't need to use external systems for this collaboration. It can all be centralized inside Bitrix. And we'll talk a bit more about the collaboration elements when we take a look at employee engagement shortly. But that there is a look at the profile and the company page inside Bitrix. Okay, the next area we can take a look at now is the time management features of Bitrix. So with our time management tools inside the system, what we can enable is the ability to track working time inside the system. So if we come into the work time area here, you can control who has access to perform these actions. So if we, as an administrator, I could turn on the work time management features, maybe for specific people. Maybe everyone in the business doesn't need to have their time tracked inside the system. So you can customize who needs to have their time tracked in here. So if we just now refresh, what we can then start to access is our time tracking features. So if we just clock out here from the previous day, and then what we can do is we can see in the profile here, we have a clock-in system. So when a user is about to start their working day, we can use the clock-in tool to now start recording our working time inside Bitrix. And it's very valuable if you're needing maybe to use this for, it could be for payroll purposes, if you need to log the overall working day of the person. So we can run that time inside here. And what we can also do is we can use the check-in feature on the mobile app. So if we're maybe not working in the office, if maybe we're going to visit a client, using the mobile app, you're able to check in through the mobile application. And on there, it can also use geolocation tagging. So when you do check in, it can essentially stamp the location of where you have checked in using your mobile device. And then we can also clock out. We can record our break time inside the system as well. So you've got lots of functionality here to manage your working day through Bitrix. And then what we can also see inside here is we're able to analyze the overall time spent by our teams inside Bitrix. So that time will then get logged inside the system here. And what we can then see, you'd see all the history inside here, and you'd be able to export that time data out in Bitrix as well. But it may be you want to, rather than having to report at quite a high level there on the overall working day, if you're assigning tasks and work to your staff, we could then report on the lower level task information. So here we've got a task that has been assigned to a member of the team, and you have a time tracking tool within the task page. So you can see now that is recording the task time on the system here. And we can then use the BI builder to build out reports that analyzes and summarizes the total work time that the person has spent across their tasks over customizable reporting periods. Or maybe if the time tracker isn't practical, if you're going to be using lots of different tasks throughout the day, you've also got the time tool here. So you can backdate time in here and add this into your task. Okay, so let's now add that time, and that then gets logged inside the task as well. So those are the two key ways you're able to manage and record time for your employees through the Bitrix system. Okay, next let's take a look at the company calendars. So within the Bitrix system, you have two different types of calendars. First of all, you have your own company calendar. So this is your own personal calendar. So I can see some different events here that I have got set up on the system. Now, it's also possible to connect external calendars into Bitrix. So you're able to connect those into here. And you can also, within the system, set permissions. So if you wanted to give access to maybe certain people who could access your calendar in Bitrix, you can give them access rights through the application here, and then control what level of access that person has in your calendar itself. Okay, and the other area for calendars is the actual company calendar. So you could do company-wide calendars inside here as well. So if we click into the company calendar, you can see here, this is an overall company calendar for company-wide events and where you're wanting to maybe share additional information. Maybe if the office is closed for a certain day, you might want to add that into the company calendar. Okay, next is the drive space, a really popular feature. Similar structure to the calendar in terms of you have your own personal drive area, first of all. So inside here, you can see I've got separate files for different features here. And I can then add documents into each folder area. Now, if you have at least a professional cloud tier, what we can then do is we can put access permissions to control who can access certain folders or files within the system. And then we also have a company drive. So here we can see in our company drive, we're separated based on clients and processors. And then we can also manage all of our information inside the system here. So for different processors or folders that you have, it's very easy to separate out key information. And then I could open up those different documents through the application like so. And here we can see this is opened up in Bitrix Docs. So this then allows you to collaborate, edit, and share documents through the Bitrix system. Now, what is also possible is you can configure and run business processes. So that is essentially a workflow that you could run on your documents. To do this, you need to have at least a professional cloud tier of Bitrix. And you need to have this button ticked on the actual company drive. And then from here, what we can then do is we could run a process. So maybe we want to send it for an approval for someone to check and to review. the document as an example. So it's really additional functionality that you could incorporate into documents that you have inside the Drive area. So again, you'll need to have at least a professional cloud tier of Bitrix to access this. So that is a look there at the Drive area of Bitrix. And now let's take a look at quite a few areas really within the system for employee engagement. So this is a really fundamental piece of area of processes that Bitrix has very powerful functionality. So Bitrix started off as an intranet system. So first of all, we have our feed page in Bitrix. So inside here, any changes or comments or tags that you are associated in, they will show inside your feed here. So I can see here an event that's been updated that I'm associated to. That information gets added to the feed. I can see a task that I'm working on. There has been an update to that task, so that has also been added into my feed. So it acts as a way to see all of the critical information that you are associated to. It's going to show in your feed. And you can also filter through the feed to find specific posts or submissions if you have a lot of information in there. We can also, if I come into the start page, this is essentially where we can have users open to on their Bitrix. So it's essentially a company page here where you can add different pieces of information, whether it's information about the company. Here we've got the latest birthdays across the team and links to some knowledge bases that we are sharing company information on. So it's a really nice, warm and engaging way to share information about the company. And within the feed area, we also have a messaging system. So within here, we can post out messages to specific members of the company to share key information. What we can also do here is we can use the Bitrix Copilot to help generate that information. So for example, I want to make people aware that the office is going to be closed this Friday. So I can use my Copilot to actually formulate the framework of that message. Okay, so I've just written a bit of a script here, and then I can use my Copilot to continue that text. And it's now going to generate the post that I can then use to send out to all of the employees of the company. Okay, so there we go. That looks good. So I can use this here. I've got my subject. I'm just going to input my details here. And we can then send this here, and I can choose the audience for this message here. So it could be I want to send to all employees, but this is where you start to see the company structure come into play. So I could send it to a specific department as an example. But yeah, I want to send this to all employees. So let's now send that message out. And so that's now been added into everyone's feed, and we'll be able to see when people view the message. You can also add likes and comments. So it's got a very social media orientated feel and approach to the feed. And from here as well, we can also create tasks or maybe create events and share that event with people. So you can start to see how engagement can be centralized through the Bitrix system here. It's also possible to create polls. So maybe if you want to have a bit more of a fun and engaging way of interacting with staff. So let's say staff party. Okay, so we can put this in here. Let's say Friday 20th. Or let's say Monday the 23rd. So you can add multiple options, you could do multiple choice as well, and then we can add this into the team. So let's just send this out into everybody. and that will then get added into here. So we've got an interactive poll that we can then share with people, and we'll then see how people are voting on that specific question. It's also possible to do appreciations. So we briefly looked at this earlier on where we went into the user's profile page. So what we can do here is we can essentially acknowledge someone who's done a really good job, and we can send them an appreciation. So here I'm selecting the recipient, but I want to send this and make everyone in the company aware. So I'm going to share the information now with every employee. Okay, so I'm going to send this appreciation, and you can see how this can really help with engagement and create that team culture, especially if people are working in different offices or locations. Using these tools really helps improve that engagement across the team. And then lastly, we also have announcements. So the key difference here with an announcement is we can force the user to mark that they have read the message. Okay, so send exactly the same type of information that we sent earlier on. But now when I send this, we can see here it's in green. It's going to be pinned to the top of the page. And for other users, they'll have to mark that they have read this. So if you've got critical information that's maybe time sensitive, an announcement is a really valuable way to share that information. And then lastly, around engagement, we have the company pulse. So actually, this is really quite nice for administrators to be able to analyze and review the engagement across the Bitrix system. So I can see who's engaging most across our teams, but I can also see what areas of the system are being used, but also what's been underutilized. So here I can see the mobile app is really not being utilized. So we can maybe start to formulate some training programs to make people aware of the benefits and the functionality that the mobile app could provide, and then help people to get more value out of the Bitrix system. So that's just a little look there at some of the ways we can engage with our employees using the tools inside Bitrix. And then next, let's take a look at some of the workflow processes that we can run inside Bitrix. So to use what I'm going to show next, the absence request feature, you need to have at least a professional cloud tier of Bitrix. And it's a very customizable workflow tool that we're going to take a look at. So if you want to customize a process in Bitrix, you have the capability to do that using the business process designer tool, which we're going to take a look at. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to be an employee that wants to request for some annual leave. So I can open up here the request leave form. This then opens up the form that the user has to complete. So let's put in the request here. So we'll put the start and the end date, the reason for the leave. And you can see in this form, there is key information that is mandatory, okay, before the request can be sent through. You can customize what fields in this form are mandatory, what fields you actually want to display. You may want to remove certain fields, add other fields. It's flexible for your needs. So let's now run that in the system. And we can see now that for the manager, the information has been inputted, so we can then either approve or reject that request through the system. So I'm going to approve that request. And if we come back into our employee module, what we have here is the absence charts. So we can see inside the system here all of the different types of leave. So you can see that request that we've just approved for the 16th to the 17th of February, that has been authorized. And within here, I'd be able to see all of the different types of leave across the organization. So I can see a mixture of holidays here. I can see some sick leave, and I could drill down into specific departments and structures through the system here. Again, this is using the company structure that we looked at earlier on in the webinar. So it's just showing you how that structure is used across the entire system. Now, for the on-premise version of Bitrix, we have additional functionality that you could utilize if you want to purchase our plugin, which is called the absence management tool. So here, what we have is a standard on the leave approval process. There is no way of setting leave entitlement. Okay, so the manager needs to be able to analyze how many days that they have given for that employee. If you want to have leave entitlements, so essentially giving a specific number of days that the person can use, we have that feature so you can add the entitlement. We can then see the remaining amount of entitlement that user has. If there's any remaining at the end of the year, the holiday year, that could then be transferred over to the next holiday year. And so once they have hit their entitlement period, then any additional holidays will be automatically rejected. So this gives you more control over the holiday workflow. So if you are using an on-premise version of Bitrix, then please get in touch. We can go through this feature in more detail. And if you'd like to purchase this, we can then install this into your on-premise edition. Okay, so that is a look at one type of workflow. Let's take a look at a different type of process here. And specifically, I want to show you this because it's using a different framework of automated workflows. So it's called robotic process automation. So inside here, we can design out any type of workflow that's HR related. So here we have an employee onboarding process. So before we take a look in detail here, I just want to show you how this works. So here we have stages at the top that we are progressing the onboarding of the employee through. And on each of these stages, if I come into the automation area, we have different automated activities that are scheduled with that department. So for example, in the HR department, we have specific tasks that they need to complete for the onboarding. We have information that they need to review as well. So it's each step of the process, there is key tasks and information that each department has to complete. And what's really nice with this workflow is we can't pass the onboarding to the next department until each department has completed their piece of work. So if we come out of here, for example, if I try to move Luke into the finance department, you can see here there are uncompleted assignments. So it's not letting me progress. And that's critical because if you're going through an onboarding process, or let's say there's really any type of HR process you may run, there will be critical elements to each process that have to be completed in a waterfall process. So we can't progress. This gives you that capability to manage that through the Bitrix system. Okay, so let's now, if we're going to add a new employee, let's add their details into the system. Okay, so we've added their details. We'll now add their holiday allowance, choose the employee's status here, and we'll add their start date into the platform. So we can see now that has automatically gone to the HR department to complete their piece of work for this onboarding. The information we've inputted, it's been captured in their record now. And what we get here is an audit log. So I can see as soon as that's been assigned to the HR department, that gets timestamped in the system. I can see who in the HR team is responsible for this specific piece of work. So for auditing purposes, you have full visibility of every incremental change that takes place on the record here. And like I say, this is for employee onboarding, but you could design out any type of process using the robotic process automation tool. So if I come across now this as the employee in HR, I can see the notification that they've received about the new assignment. And then we can click into their tasks here, and that Rob Smithson task has been set up. So we can now start to complete the information we need to fill in. So I can add and select their manager here. I'm going to select what devices that we need to give them access to. So that's now started that process. And now what we can do is, if we come out of the system here, if we come back across to our Bitrix system, there we go. We can see now that the Rob Smithson record is automatically now moved to the finance department stage. We can see the assignment has been completed and at what time that got completed. It's now moved to the next department. So you can start to see how a process can really start to be automated using the robotic process automation tools we have in Bitrix. And again, we can provide training, we can provide implementation and support to help you utilize all of these different tools in Bitrix. If you're not using these right now, there is so much value we could help you get out of your Bitrix system. So again, our details are on the chat channel on YouTube. If you want to learn more, contact us, sales@intreface.com, and we can help you get a lot more value out of your Bitrix system. Okay, so that is a really synopsis now of the HR Toolkit webinar. So we've seen how we can add a profile and company structure. We have time management tools for managing overall workday, but also lower level tasks. We have a personal drive area and calendars. We've seen lots of different tools we can use for employee engagement, from the start page, chats, using the feed, and sending out announcements or posts. It allows you to collaborate with all of your teams. We've seen how we can use self-service forms for managing holiday requests, and as we've just seen there, robotic process automation for creating customizable HR workflows. Okay, so here are a selection of our up and coming webinars. We are here every other Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and you can see all of our content on our YouTube channel. So again, I'll just put a link to our YouTube channel onto this webinar chat. So you can go to youtube.com/Intreface to see lots of our content. And that includes some of our AI solutions in our top 25 range. So you can start to see some of the additional AI capability that we could add to your Bitrix24 system. So thank you very much for your time today. I look forward to seeing you all in the near future. Bye for now.